Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast for media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Stryker, and LuckyEevee, and our special guest for this episode, Tsuki. Today is our 23rd episode, and we're discussing 1993's Jurassic Park for our first ever theme month of Jurassic July, where we're going to be talking about all of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World franchise. So, let's get things started.
Oh yeah.
Jurassic Park, I mean, where do you even begin with it? It's actually kind of hard to talk about for me because it's been a part of my life for so long. It's like trying to describe your hands. But yeah, let's basically start at the basics. Jurassic Park was a book originally written by Michael Crichton, who also did Westworld, which was another media piece about a theme park gone wrong.
Oh yeah.
Just replace dinosaurs with robot Yul Brenner, and that's Westworld. The 1970s movie, by the way, highly recommended. It is fantastic. But getting back to this, has anyone here read the book? Because the book is very different from the movie.
I have not. But I am very much familiar with a certain moment from the book. One that honestly, Samuel L. Jackson himself, he's in the movie.
Yeah,
fun
exactly.
fact,
It's like that.
who
There was
was a little disappointed didn't make the cut.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it when we get to it. But there was a lot of differences. Hammond died. Malcolm died. Hammond was less of a jovial Walt Disney type and more of a complete corporate jerk. Gennaro, the lawyer, was actually a sympathetic character. And originally, the Jurassic Park book, I'm not kidding, was going to be optioned by James Cameron with Arnold Schwarzenegger apparently being in it, but it got scrapped. And ironically,
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, ironically, Jurassic Park completely destroyed an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie at the box office. Last Action Hero came out at the exact same time, made nothing because everyone wanted to see Jurassic Park. But yeah,
I almost thought you were going to say Terminator because
no.
God.
T2 is a couple of years before this, but yeah, Jurassic Park is one of those movies like T2, a good segue there, that actually really completely changed the movie industry with its special effects. Because you had movies like Young Sherlock Holmes, and you had The Abyss, and you had T2, but I feel like this movie is the real first time that I feel like Hollywood and cinema in general really stretched CGI to its limit, to as advanced as it could get. And this movie is 30 years old, and of course we're doing it for its 30th anniversary. It still looks fantastic.
Oh yeah, it absolutely.
It really has not aged at all. Really, there's a couple of dodgy shots here and there, but aside from that, it is a movie that looks as good now as it did on the screen in 1993.
Absolutely. It's like Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's only rough around the edges. Otherwise, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, it is.
I mean, considering the film combines practical effects, it does make it a little less distracting than, say, a lot of later films.
Of course. It uses, of course, the animatronic dinosaurs, which also look really amazing for the time, despite the fact that they would give the crew some problems, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah. This movie, I feel it's one of Steven Spielberg's best. It's easily in my top 5, maybe even top 3 of the movies he's done. It might even be my favorite, to be honest, because it has just such great and iconic moments that I've seen this movie 1,000 times, and it still leaves me in awe and shots at every time.
Yeah. I a little less so, but I do admit that it definitely 100% has an impact. Every moment from that movie is iconic for a good reason. Let me put it that way.
Exactly. I mean, so yeah.
I mean, given the period of the time, this was the height of Dino Mania in the United States back in the 90s.
It kind of was, if you.
Last episode we talked about something from the Dino Mania, Jim Henson's Dinosaurs. We talked about that.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then you have.
So yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So the movie begins on Isla Nublar with Muldoon and the Jurassic Park staff basically watching over the raptors being delivered. And one of the workers gets attacked by the raptors, and it's really such an intense scene. And again, like Jaws, Spielberg chooses not to really show the dinosaurs, which really is to its benefit because when they do finally show up, it is so impactful, and we will get to that momentarily.
Also, I'm sorry. That moment, for the most part, was ruined for me by the delivery of "Shoot her! Shoot
Iconic.
her!" It's iconic, but yeah, it's
I don't know
hilarious.
why
It's
she
more
doesn't do that
hilarious
part.
than intense for me. Still somewhat intense for the most part, but come on, man.
Yeah.
Oh my
Of course,
goodness.
then there's the part where the movie cuts to Gennaro, the lawyer, arriving to a dig site, and there's actually a joke that not a lot of people would get unless you know Spanish. The two Costa Rican workers are talking to each other, and one of them basically says, "I bet you 1,000 pesos that he's going to trip and fall," and lo and behold, he does. So that's like a reference
Nice.
that a lot of people would not know unless you know Spanish, and it's a little cute Easter egg there. So
Even
anyway,
I know
then-
Spanish, and I honestly didn't, and I honestly cannot speak it fluently for the life of
Yeah,
me.
it's
But
alright, it's alright.
anyways,
Oh my
It's fun.
goodness.
Sorry, sorry. But yeah, after that scene, the movie then introduces us to our main protagonists, of course, Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Sattler, who are just great. They are so great. I mean, Alan Grant to me is actually almost cooler than Indiana Jones. There's just something
Yeah.
about Sam Neill, and I feel that Sam Neill in general is an extremely underrated actor. I think in every movie I've seen him in, every single one, even like the Omen sequels, he gives it 120% every single time. And a little
Nice.
fun fact about him, he came extremely close to playing James Bond. It was literally between him or Timothy Dalton at one point.
Oh
Damn.
wow.
Oh. Wait.
Yeah.
Never mind.
No, it's
I
okay,
might
it's
be
okay.
thinking of someone different because I hear Timothy Dalton, and I think, was he in Doom Patrol as like Niles Calder? I could be wrong.
You know, he was in Rocketeer as the main Nazi
He was
villain.
also, he was in Looney Tunes Back in Action. You probably have seen him. He's in Hot Fuzz as the villain. You probably have seen him in things. But anyway, of course, there's the iconic part with Grant traumatizing the little kid who says, that's not scary. That looks like a 6-foot turkey. He pulls out like the raptor claw and he gives like a detailed, down to the minute explanation of what a raptor would do to you. And it is
Holy
one of those
shit.
things that, again, it's a moment that is just perfectly delivered.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
Fun fact: there was a fan theory, an insane fan theory that I remember reading online that kid grew up to be Owen from Jurassic World. Now it's not true; it's been debunked and everything, but just the fact that somebody tried to do that, like it's like all these movies have to be connected in the smallest way. It's like no, it doesn't.
Everything
It's
is
like the weird
connected.
retcon
Oh,
for
man.
Iron Man 2, where they say the kid with the
Is Peter Parker. Yeah, it's like that. It doesn't really, it was not the filmmaker's original intention in that. But anyway, of course, John Hammond arrives by helicopter to announce his project to them. And Hammond was played by Richard Attenborough, who acted in other movies like the original Flight of the Phoenix. He's really good in that. He directed movies like Gandhi, which actually beat E.T. to Best Picture in 1982. But
Nice.
he'll always be remembered by me and probably a lot of people of my generation as John Hammond.
yeah.
Like I see him, like even like Flight of the Phoenix, I'm like, oh, John Hammond got into the plane crash with all the others before he founded Jurassic Park.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ah, man. And let us not forget the ever iconic Jeff
Ian.
Goldblum.
Ian Malcolm himself, but
Gold.
we'll talk about him in a little bit because first we'll talk about the main human antagonist of the movie, Nedry, played by Wayne Knight, aka Newman from Seinfeld, Al from Toy Story 2. He also, believe it or not, voiced Zurg in the TV show, so that's a fun little fact for you.
We were just talking. Me and Stryker actually were just talking about that
yeah.
before we were recording this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like I say, Nedry really is such a fun character because he's so he's not completely unlikable, but he's so despicable you can't help but love him. He has like the little moments like Dogson, we got dogs in here, and the part where he opens up the shaving cream with the embryo can in it, and he just does that like little squeal of delight. It is so hilarious. It's something that you could just rewind and watch it. Just because it's one of those cute little moments that, again, there's so many of them in this movie that is just. It is iconic. For lack of a better word, this movie is completely iconic. Every single scene in it has been a mainstay of culture for a reason. And yeah,
absolutely.
Now we get to, of course, the helicopter taking the protagonist to Isla Nublar. And now we can talk about Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum.
Bloom.
Yeah.
That's his other.
I'm sorry.
Oh man.
Yeah, perfect casting. Just the absolute 100% best actor you could have cast for this role. He completely sells the character, and this probably was his big break because, I mean, he had movies like The Fly before that, and Earth Girls Are Easy and stuff like that. But this, I think, is what really put him on the map, and he deserves it because he's fantastic. Malcolm is so great. I love the one moment is the little laugh he lets out in the helicopter. The just that little weird.
Man.
Oh
The
yeah.
little touches just make
Yeah,
it
but
very.
it really is. Yeah.
Although I will say this, after Jurassic Park, that's pretty much the only character he ever plays, though.
Oh yeah. He does the same thing in Independence Day. Of course, he reprises Malcolm in Lost World, and everything after has pretty much been him repeating the success of Ian Malcolm. But hey, if you have a character archetype that works, don't knock
If it ain't
it.
broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
Exactly.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I mean, he made.
So yeah, the helicopter ride overall is great because it showcases all the different characters' personalities and relationships in a way. And I think that in a way, it's little moments like this that really work to make the movie iconic. I mean, the dinosaurs themselves are great, but it's also the fact that you care about the characters behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a big difference between this and like some of the other movies that try to be like this, like say Carnosaur, for instance. Roger Corman's Carnosaur, which actually came out before this, but it's kind of a preemptive knockoff of this.
Yeah, the novel's very different actually. I forgot all the details.
Yeah, I've heard that. I heard that Corman just bought it to rush it out to put it in theaters before this. But anyway, finally getting back to Jurassic Park, there's also a really neat little foreshadowing of what happens with the dinosaurs with the seatbelts, because Grant has two female ends, and he solves the problem by tying them together to basically fasten his seatbelt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're both female ends, and they don't connect together, but he finds a way to basically put it together. It's a little bit of foreshadowing. It probably was intentional, and if it was, that is very clever. But now we get to probably one of the most iconic movie scenes of the past 30 years, if not the single most iconic movie scene. I mean, you could have like, I Am Iron Man or, anything from Lord of the Rings, but this, to me, the reveal of the dinosaurs is perhaps one of the single greatest movie moments of the past 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Like
And
even down to like dinosaurs like
Darkness
taking a dump, it's that amazing. Like
exactly, but we
and
don't
the scene
get
for
to
me
that
that
far, but
ultimately like was very impactful was like the scene of like actually feeding a legit brontosaurus or whatever
That
and
too, that
a bit of leaves. That was pretty neat.
That was neat, yeah. But like I say, just the fact that the way the music swells up, and by the way, Jurassic Park, John Williams' best score. I will not dispute this.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Best score, better than Star Wars, better than E.T. Just the best one all around, I feel.
Oh man, there are a lot of John Williams. Didn't he also do The Incredibles? I could be misremembering.
No,
that.
he didn't.
Guy.
No.
Okay. Oh, that was the.
Yeah.
That's right. Never mind.
Yeah, Michael Gina.
But yeah, like I say, again, the fact that Jurassic Park, I feel like it works so well because it feels real. It feels like an actual location, and you feel like the actual characters that you want to go to this place and you want to see it succeed.
Same.
You kind of go on the same journey as the protagonists. And again, it is really a fantastic location. And even the little touches they do, like, of course, Mr. DNA is exposition, let's be real, but it is a fun way of giving exposition to the audience. I mean,
honestly,
I'm sorry, the Mr. DNA animated sequence is just so adorable.
It's pretty adorable.
It is.
Actual thing aside, for the most part, I do believe that's a pretty neat thing that they added to the movie. Like, there are a lot of live action movies with like little animated segments. I forget what it was called. I know it had like Antonio Banderas in it, like in the like early '90s and whatnot. It was in like this
movies
hotel.
used to do that with like the animated sequences. I understand what you're saying, but yeah. like I said, this is probably one of the better examples of them, I feel.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it combines both CG, 2D, and just live action. It's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh,
Again.
man.
And another bit of foreshadowing that Grant, Malcolm, and Sattler basically break completely, stop the lap bar when it actually gets to the ride portion of the tour. And it shows that Jurassic Park, despite sparing no expense, they did cut corners. And of course, that comes back to bite them.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's here where
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Of course, like in life with a lot of other places and other things, Twitter. But yeah,
Nice.
we get to the lab and we get to see Dr. Wu, who would later be very predominant in the
God.
he would be very predominant in the Jurassic World franchise. So when we get to that, we are going to talk a lot more about him. And he died in the book, so that is another departure. He was apparently disemboweled by raptors, but here he survives. So that's how he comes back.
I don't think it was until Dominion that he ultimately got himself disemboweled, right?
I think he lives in Dominion. I'll have to rewatch it, but I'm pretty sure he lives in that. But anyway, now we get to the explanation of how the basically the hatching of the baby who turns out to be a baby raptor, of course. Which again, great scene. Even the sound effects of it, like hatching out of its egg, are just perfectly done. Like I say, this is a movie that to me has reached its final form. It could not be a better version of itself. But now, of course, we get to the reason why this, as well as the entire other Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies, are going to be on this podcast. All of the dinosaurs are canonically female. Unless said otherwise by the movies or supplementary material, we are going to consider them female for the purpose of the podcast.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. They're all female.
Yeah.
Okay. Quick note before we begin the thing proper. I remember one of my family's friends saying that Jurassic Park did this particular scene first, but Amelie did it funnier. But in any case, for those of you who have seen Amelie and or this scene in Jurassic Park, you'll know exactly who we're talking about. The motherfucking T-Rex.
Oh, God. But yeah, of course, now we get to the part with the raptors being fed the cow, which again, aside from, the Brachiosaurus, the thing about this movie that's interesting, I don't think a lot of people know, we don't actually get to see the dinosaurs on screen for a pretty long stretch. From the Brachiosauruses to the T-Rex escaping its paddock. We really don't get to see it. And again, it's like Jaws, whereas Jaws was unintentional because apparently they wanted to show a lot more of the shark, but it kept breaking down due to mechanical issues with the animatronics. Here, it seems intentional. Like they're really building up to it. They're making the audience more and more anxious with it. And of course, it's here where we get to see Muldoon again, and Muldoon is a complete badass character, and it's a shame that he does not live. He did live in the book, and I believe in one of the video game adaptations, he actually did survive, but of course, the movie, he passes away. And after seeing the cow off-screen being completely slaughtered by the raptors, they go to have lunch of Chilean sea bass, and again, this scene is another great character study. Malcolm is cynical about the whole project. Gennaro, the lawyer, he just cares about making money, which leads to a fantastic line that I absolutely love. Oh, we'll have coupon day for the park. When John says he wants it for everybody, he's another great character.
And you get a coupon, and you get a coupon, you all get a coupon.
Oh, yeah. And Grant and Sattler are reasonably skeptical about it, much to, of course, John Hammond's displeasure. The only one I have sticking up for me is the blood-sucking lawyer. And then Gennaro just looks at him. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, then we get to see, of course, Lex and Tim. And unlike other movies where they try to shoehorn in cute kids, Lex and Tim actually work. I think because they feel more realistic. I mean, there are movies that have completely ruined themselves. They're trying to introduce a cute kid and making them part of the cast. Have you ever seen Blues Brothers 2000?
Oh no!
I
Yeah,
have
they
not,
made
but
the
I have
second
seen a
Blues
review of
Brothers.
it.
They have John Goodman as the new Jake. They have Elwood, and then they have some little kid who also becomes a Blues Brother, and it is a mess.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it could be a lot
I didn't
worse.
mind. The kid,
Yeah.
maybe in a different movie it could have worked better.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
wiener.
but
I will
anyway,
say
getting back to Jurassic Park. Sorry about all these tangents. Yeah.
Yep.
We get to see the Jurassic Park tour room after a cute moment where Grant tricks Tim into going into the same car with Gennaro, which again, another cute moment. We get to
Yeah.
see Mr. Arnold, played by Samuel L. Jackson. This was literally, I believe, one of, if not the last role he would take before Pulp Fiction would come out the next year, and he'd be a huge star. This was back when he was still like, oh, hey, it's that guy, compared to, oh my God, Samuel L. Jackson. He was still kind of a character actor rather than like a huge star.
Yeah, mother effer,
I
mother
think he's the
effer.
second highest grossing actor of all time right now.
With everything he's
Yeah.
been, I'm not
In
surprised.
case it fluctuates every now and then, but in case you're wondering, like the top two is either Scarlett Johansson or Robert Downey Jr.
Nice.
Marvel figures. But yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
Of course, Nedry is doing his job poorly, and it's due to, of course, money problems with him and Hammond, and of course, probably a way for him to get the embryos and get out of there. But then we cut to probably one of the really cool moments in the movie where they go to the Jurassic Park gates, it's opened up, and of course, Malcolm has a classic line, what do you think they got in there, King Kong? And it really looks exactly like the gates from King Kong. Though sadly, it is, I don't know if it's the one from the 70s, but it is not the one from the original because that was destroyed for Gone with the Wind. True story.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, the tour goes very poorly with the dinosaurs either being completely no-shows or being sick. And of course, this leads to probably my favorite exchange of the movie, where Malcolm just looks directly in like the van camera. He looks directly and he says, "There are going to be dinosaurs on the dinosaur tour," and then it goes to and then it shows John Hammond. I really do hate that man. It is actually my favorite moment of the movie. Exchange of the movie, sorry, is that little exchange of dialogue. So yeah, they go to see the Triceratops, and fun fact, there was going to be a scene of apparently the kids riding a Triceratops because there's still photos of Lex on top of one, but they cut it out, and the footage, I don't know if it's a deleted scene or not. I have not seen it, so I will not say. But anyway, basically, Sattler decides to stay behind to find out what's going wrong with the dinosaurs, with the plants they're eating, why they're getting sick all the time. And this leads to the rest of them going back in their tour vans, and Nedry activates his program, and that just shuts down basically the entire park. Now here is a really interesting fun fact about the movie. The storm breaking out was real. They filmed this in Hawaii, and a hurricane actually hit while they were filming the movie. So they had to actually abandon filming for a little bit and shoot some stuff in, I think, LA.
Makes sense.
Apparently, yeah, Richard Attenborough slept through the whole thing. The next day, Steven Spielberg asked, "How'd you do it?" Attenborough looked at him and said, "My dear boy, I slept through the Blitz." Which, right there, badass right there.
Through which again? Sorry.
Richard Attenborough, who played John Hammond.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. What did he sleep through?
The Blitz.
He slept through the hurricane that hit the island when they were filming.
Yeah, I know that, but he slept through what before he slept through the hurricane?
London Blitz during World War II.
Blitz, the bombing of World War II.
Oh, yikes. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back to the movie, we have another fantastic exchange that I use all the time in real life, which probably makes me a nerd, but whatever. I love this one exchange. Are they heavy? Yeah. Then they're expensive. Put them back. Again. But yeah, now we get to see, of course, the iconic part with the build-up to the T-Rex, a.k.a. Rexy, which is what she's called in supplemental material. That is her name, of course. Mm-hmm. So we get the part, of course, with the water shaking, and we just see her claw going over it, and then it happens. the goat leg hits the windshield, and then we get to see her. The entrance of Rexy is for my opinion, one of the true highlights of the movie. I mean,
man.
they used sometimes animatronics in this scene, but what would happen because of all the rain effects, the animatronic would start like stuttering and shaking, so they'd have to like dry it off, then redo another take of the scene. So apparently it took a while to film this, but honest to God, I cannot tell the difference between the CGI and the animatronics in this scene. It is that good.
Yeah,
Honestly,
nice.
it was.
I'm also really happy that like Doug, aka the Nostalgia Critic, did like a little take where it's like where like every time the T-Rex is on screen, it's like, and oh man, that just sticks to my mind every time I see it.
Yeah, that is classic. But yeah, of course, Gennaro turns out to be a coward, abandons the kids to go hide in the bathroom. And then of course the kids try to get the T-Rex away from them by flashing the light, but it only draws them to it. And of course, Rexy attacking the car, another fantastic moment. It is just so intense when it looks over them, and then all of a sudden it just smashes its head down on like the windshield, breaking through like the plastic and the glass. It is, again, crushing the car with its foot. It is fantastic.
It is very much impressive.
And of course, Malcolm and Grant try to save them with Malcolm injured. And originally, Malcolm was not going to try to save them. He too was apparently going to try and run away from the situation. But Jeff Goldblum apparently suggested that they try to make Malcolm a little more heroic. So that's why they gave him the scene of him holding the flare.
In all fairness, it kind of does make him a little more well-rounded character if that he actually helped them and not just be a coward.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, it builds up to his actions in the sequel, which of course we will talk about next week. But yeah, Gennaro is eaten by Rexy, and it's actually later implied that they find pieces of him pretty much everywhere. So it was not a graceful death for the blood-sucking lawyer. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yikes.
And of course, there is the part where Alan rescues Lex and Tim from from the tree, which is another fantastic sequence. It's one that is so, again, gripping, and you really feel on the edge of your seat. Again, this is a movie I have seen probably thousands of times, and every single time I watch it, this moment in particular always has me like on the edge of your seat, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Absolutely, yeah.
I loved that scene with the T-Rex, I swear.
Yeah, it is.
There is no music, and that's just...
Exactly. It's like movies aren't even made like this anymore, I feel like nowadays they'd have like, well, that just happened kind of quip, but no, here they just play it completely serious. They play the moment in complete, really almost perfection in a way. It really showcases how much movies have changed from like 1993 to now.
There's still some good movies that rely on atmosphere.
Of course, no, of course there are, but I mean like but it feels like it's a different style. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, The Batman by Matt Reeves was like a great example of like.
No, that was good. That was good. Yeah, but they are still good ones. But I'm just saying, in general. So Nedry tries to flee the park, but he accidentally crashes against a sign, causing him to drive all over the place. And I love the part where he just spins the east sign. The arrow just keeps spinning, and then he just goes in the random direction.
Yeah.
And of course, when Arnold tries to stop Nedry's computer virus from basically infecting the system, we get the part, of course, you didn't say the magic word. Again, another cute moment. And yeah, so while that's going on, Ellie and Muldoon go out to save Malcolm and find the remains of Gennaro. And the chase with Rexy in the Jeep, again, another completely badass moment. There are parts where, again, I can't tell what's CGI and what's animatronic at one point. A lot of it is CGI, I know that, but I know the part where she actually comes out of the trees, they actually use the animatronic for that. So they went all out with this. Yeah. It still looks so realistic. And of course, it's that great iconic moment. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear with, Rexy practically lunging at it, which another fantastic moment. They duck down. Rexy hits the tree in that, and overall, it is like one of the best set pieces of the movie. I think the original, Tyrannosaurus, escaping the paddock is better, but this sequence as well is well done.
Definitely.
So now, of course, we get to see Nedry's fate. He gets eaten by the Dilophosaurus, and I love, of course, the build-up to it. Stick, stupid! See the stick? Stick! And he says, no wonder you're extinct. I'm going to run you over when I get back down. And, of course, but Nedry, I mean, he really suffers. The guy had his eyes burnt out with acid before he got eaten in the car, and, of course, we don't get to see it. And apparently, Wayne Knight was disappointed that they did not show his death on camera.
Oh yeah, fun fact about the game. That scene is actually explored in the game.
Oh, go on.
Post death.
Damn.
Which game are you talking about?
The Telltale game.
The Telltale game. Apparently, you have to find the can of shaving cream, and you get to see Nedry's body.
Yeah. Of course, the shaving cream with embryos gets covered in the mud, and it actually does come back in one of the later movies. I won't tell which one because of spoilers and that, but we'll get to that.
I have a feeling I know which one it is, but
it does. So anyway, Arnold basically finally shuts off the power grid, which of course turns off the power to the entire park except for the computers. And this also leads to the scene with Ellie and Hammond. Well, was that before or after? Oh, well. But the scene with Ellie and Hammond talking is a really nice, wonderful moment as Hammond basically realized that his dream of trying to build Jurassic Park was a foolish one despite everything. Ellie has that great rant. It's still a flea circus. It's all just an illusion. Don't you get it? People are actually dying out there. And he actually comes to the realization that, what have I done? Which he did not get in the book. The Hammond in the book was a complete jerk, and he got killed by compies.
Oh, dear.
Well, as the old saying goes, when Disneyland opened in '56, nothing worked.
But when Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists. Again, yeah, exactly.
Imagine they did, though. That would be crazy.
No, what happens is it would become Westworld. That would become
Westworld. Holy shit!
But it's actually small world dolls that eat the tourists.
Oh god.
Oh dear. Oh dear. That's a concept I did not want to envision.
Oh god. Okay.
Someone gets the shotguns. It is a small world after all.
That would be fantastic.
Oh god.
Now getting back to the movie, basically, Tim and Lex wake up. Alan becomes more open to basically caring for the kids in that, which, again, great character development for him. How he was at the beginning of the movie compared to at this point. And basically, when they wake up, they have the entire field of brachiosauruses, which, for the most part, look really good. There's a couple in the back that look a little stiff. I don't know if they were CG or, what have you. Originally, this movie was going to be done before, of course, they decided to use CGI and animatronics. It was going to be all stop motion, kind of like what Harryhausen would do. But I think making it CG and animatronic, it does work better. As much as I love a good stop motion dinosaur, I really do. Stop motion is fantastic. It is great. More people need to use it nowadays. But I feel like for this movie, using the CGI and the animatronics helps make it a little more majestic.
I think it's also because it's just more expensive.
That too. And probably, that's the more logical reason. But really, I think as a filmmaking technique, it does work out a little bit better. But of course, when they finally get out of the tree after Lex gets sneezed on by a brachiosaurus, which
and also
gets many traumatizing things she has experienced throughout the past few hours, they find a couple of raptor eggs, and because, as Mr. DNA says, we used the DNA of a frog to fill some holes in the code, and some frogs can change sex. So nature finds a way. That's how the dinosaurs managed to reproduce despite them being all female. basically,
yeah, that personally, like, man, that probably
it does
wouldn't work nowadays.
I know, but it's a movie. I mean, you could argue like, oh, why aren't the dinosaurs feathered or that? But to me, it
Yeah.
really is just, it's a movie. You got to take some level of disbelief with it.
Yeah,
You can't just
suspension
be
of
like,
disbelief.
it's
plot
science
hole
fiction.
ding kind of thing,
I mean,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, of course, Arnold leaves to manually return the power, but he never returns. And meanwhile, with Lex and with Alan, Lex, and Tim, they come across the T-Rex scene in the daytime, which another good sequence. And there is a little bit of dodginess with the CGI here. I think here it is probably more noticeable than any other scene in the movie, maybe because it's in the direct sunlight. There's a couple of parts where like the T-Rex lunges. It looks a little dated, but aside from that, it is still great. Like the actual herd that they run across, and of course the attack of the T-Rex still looks really good. And even like I say, being the worst sequence in Jurassic Park, or like having a couple of bad looking effects, is not a bad thing at all. Because when you're this good, and of course I love the part too where Tim looks up and he says, "Look at all the blood," with that horrified expression on his face. It really, again, showcases what these characters are actually going through. It's like the audience is like the characters in this
Pretty
movie.
much, yeah.
oh yeah, I feel
Exactly,
for
exactly. And then, of course, Ellie and Muldoon go out to manually turn the power on at the same time, and the Raptors actually manage to set a trap for Muldoon and kill him. Clever girl. Fantastic
that
moment.
scene.
And of course, the Raptors set more traps later on. When we get to Jurassic Park 3, we're going to be talking about a lot more elaborate trap that they do set, but we're talking about this one for now. So Ellie basically goes into the power room. Meanwhile, Alan, Lex, and Tim come across an electric fence, and Alan does a joke that is both a good one and a sick one by pretending to be electrocuted.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
traumatizing
course,
the
of course.
kid.
Alan.
Yeah. I mean, they're not already traumatized enough. You gotta traumatize them with another epic prank.
I mean, social experiment.
But anyway.
Oh man.
Oh god, yes. But anyway, basically, Grant, Tim, and Lex are climbing the fence while Ellie's turning on the power, and one of the power sources turns on the alarms, which scares Tim from going over, and Ellie turns on the main power for the fences just as Tim was about to get down, so he's electrocuted. You probably would not survive that in real life, but this is a movie, so he is okay.
That is.
Yeah, and he takes them to the. Grant basically takes them to the visitor center, calling Tim, the human piece of toast. Again, way to go, Grant. But seriously, getting back to Ellie, we finally get to see what happens to Mr. Arnold. He has become an arm because the Raptors killed him. Now, Arnold's death was planned. According to Samuel L. Jackson, they actually planned out Arnold's death to be on camera, but they cut it out. So we just get to see the arm of him. Now, my theory, he survived the Raptor attack, but the Raptors took out one of his eyes, and he became Nick Fury. That's what happened. Nick Fury is Mr. Arnold.
Oh man,
they can't disprove it.
And so long as we're ruining a pretty intense moment that could have easily been added into the movie,
I know.
Oh man, I see that now, and I recall the Meet the Engineer where like his one of his turrets fires a missile off, and it like blasts the frickin' Scout, and Scout's like, my arm.
Oh god. Classic.
Truly a classic.
What happens, of course, next is that Grant and Ellie are reunited, of course, and they're running because the Raptors are pursuing them. Basically, the part where the Raptor bursts out from the rubber tubing, just going back a little bit first. That too is another moment that is really. It's actually probably the first jump scare that I remembered, and it's one that actually is really effective. But yeah, anyway, getting back to the visitor center, we get to see Lex and Tim in the kitchen scene, which is a fantastic use of action. I mean, just the way that the raptors they move, and of course the guttering gutter utterings that they do are really really iconic. I mean, I still when I look at a raptor, I hear that noise that they
Yeah.
make. That is my terrible raptor impression. 10 out of 10. But seriously, the one good touch I do like is that Tim has kind of a limp when he walks because the kid was just electrocuted with 10,000 volts. Of course he would. But and the thing again with the kids, why they work is because they actually are resourceful. They manage to trick the raptors into attacking other parts of the kitchen. Tim actually is the only human, I believe, with a body count. He actually manages to kill one of the raptors by locking it in the freezer.
Oh, that's right.
He locks it in the freezer and it never comes out. So now we get to see, of course, of course, they all reunite in the main control room, and it's a Unix system. I know this. And every time I see that, when it cuts to the part of the Jurassic Park layout, I always think of it's a Mario Kart course.
Oh dear!
When they're turning on the power and it shows all the parts, to me it looks exactly like a Mario Kart course or something. But the Raptors finally invade the control room where they escape to the vent. Not before, of course, the great moment. Mr. Hammond, the phones are on. Again, great moment. And what happens is the Raptors attack the control room, and there's this one shot that looks really amazing. It's the Raptor covered in the computer code. It's something that again is it's a shot that a lot of people don't talk about, but for me, it's probably one of the more iconic ones in the movie, just because of how unique it looks. Now, every movie in the series, even some of the lesser ones, have at least one shot that is so cool. And this, of course, is made up of entirely of that. But basically, the Raptors invade the control room, following by them escaping to the vent. And when Lex actually falls through the vent and she looks up, that actually was the stunt woman looking up in surprise. And they had to basically digitally paste Lex's face over the stunt woman for that sequence.
Oh, well then.
yeah, really awesome. So, of course, they get finally to the visitor center lobby, and they're cornered by the Raptors. What are they going to do? Now, in the original script, they were going to basically kill the Raptors by crushing them with the dinosaur skeleton. There was going to be some kind of control thing to puppeteer it, but that was not nearly badass enough, because we get to see, of course, the Raptors are cornering our heroes. What do? Rexy comes back, and she takes care of them.
I mean,
and like I say, of course, the humans get the hell out of there, but the fight sequence between them, it's probably one of the shortest of the Jurassic Park fight sequences, but it is still badass. I mean, Lexi throwing one into the skeleton, basically breaking the neck of the other is really awesome. And then we get that one shot that really, in a movie made of iconic shots, probably one of the most iconic, is Rexy roaring while "When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth" banner falling right in front of her. That to me is if you had to sum up the entire Jurassic Park franchise, not just the movie, the franchise, it would be that one shot.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
But the ending, at least for the humans, is bittersweet, with Hammond basically forgetting about his dream as the helicopter flies off into the distance. And that's what happens. And the movie was a huge hit, critically and commercially, completely changed the landscape of cinema forever. It is probably one of my favorite movies, and it is actually Jurassic Park's 30th anniversary. So happy 30th, Jurassic Park. Here's to many more years of you being an awesome, awesome movie.
Yep. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the National Film Registry. It is, Academy Award winner. It is a, huge achievement, and I am very glad to see that it is still as beloved as it is 30 years ago. So now it is time for the question of the episode, which is a two-thing. What are your favorite Steven Spielberg movies, or what are your memories of Jurassic Park?
Oh man, I want to say my favorite Steven Spielberg movie, if not Jurassic Park, if not Indiana Jones, if not pretty much anything else he's done, it's Roger
Yeah,
Rabbit. Come
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It had
Oh,
Paul Williams do most of the
Richard
2D
Williams.
animation. It was the closest
a
we
lot of
ever
people forget
got,
he
other than
did
Chip
that, I
and Dale
think.
Rescue Rangers, to ever have more than one process media from. Let's see here. Let me think.
Animation, yeah.
Yeah, animation in
A lot
general at the
of people
time.
forget he did that,
Wait,
I
what?
think.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that. In fact, there were a lot of things that he was not credited for that I honestly think he should ultimately be credited for. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, let's see here. We got. Give me a moment.
Also, I hate to go actually, but it's Richard Williams, not Paul Williams. Paul Williams was the guy who wrote Rainbow Connection.
Paul, yeah, he's the
Richard
guy that did
Williams,
music on the
right,
Muppet Show and that.
I feel ya. I feel ya. No, apparently was executive producer for. Oh wait, no, never mind. Never mind. He was apparently involved with Shrek of all things.
Yep, DreamWorks.
He was
DreamWorks is
uncredited
actually
there.
founded by Spielberg. So
Yeah, he also did Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs.
yeah,
So
hell yeah.
yeah, he was also
Tiny Toons.
uncredited for Small Soldiers, which was
Oh, yeah, that
very
movie's
weird.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I
I feel like one that doesn't. Sorry, go ahead. I'll do
Let's see here. I can't really find much else. But anyways, yeah, those, to my knowledge, are what I think of. Also, Balto, surprisingly.
Yes. Yeah, from the
Oh, yeah.
short-lived Ambulation.
I
They
Will
made
West.
they did that. They did Five Goes West and We're Back at Dinosaur Story, which we are going to talk about sometime on this podcast. Maybe this year,
Nice.
maybe not. We'll have to wait
Boy.
and see.
And The
But,
Mask
yeah.
of Zorro.
That too. One of my favorite Spielberg movies is one that is really underrated. No one really talks about as much as some of his others. Excuse me. Is Catch Me If You Can with Leonard DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. There's something about that movie that, at least for me, it really does work out so well between basically Frank Abagnale and Hanratty, the relationship between them. It feels like a movie that would have been made in the 60s, but it actually, of course, is made now. And I mean that in the best way possible because, again, the characterization of it is fantastic. The acting is great. You have Christopher Walken won an Academy Award Best Supporting Actor for that. He was fantastic.
Nice.
And the story may or may not be true. Apparently, Frank Abagnale's exploits have been called into question lately. But even ignoring that, even if the movie was complete fiction, it is still a great movie and one that I highly, highly recommend.
Nice. All right, Stryker, your favorite freaking Steven Spielberg
movie.
piece of media and or memory from a Spielberg media?
Okay, so he is credited as part of this movie, even though at the time he was working on E.T. Back when I was about 9 years old, when Freeform was ABC Family, they did their 13 Nights of Halloween special. You know that whole thing they
still
did
do
for
Freeform.
Halloween. Yeah, but it's 31 Nights
and yeah,
of
it's not the
Halloween
same.
now. Yeah. They almost worship Hocus Pocus on that channel now, to be honest.
Oh dear.
Shame.
But yeah, when I was 9, when that was going on, I saw Poltergeist for the first time.
Oh dear.
Yes,
Good movie,
yes.
boy.
That is the scariest movie he ever worked on, in my opinion. The
Holy cow,
the meat moving by itself. The Craig T. Nelson, who also you probably didn't know this, he is Mr. Incredible. Basically, peeling off his own face in the mirror. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure.
So many great moments.
That's certainly something.
Yeah.
All those memes of like Mr. Incredible but uncanny. Oh my gosh.
It could be.
Oh my
it could be canon because of Poltergeist, but yeah. It is a fantastic. That's a great one. Some people say that Toby Hooper did it, but I think it was confirmed that it was mostly Spielberg.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
Spielberg was working on E.T. at the time, but Toby Hooper did work on it as well.
Yeah, he worked in it, but I think now it's been confirmed that Spielberg actually did do a lot of Poltergeist, more than Toby
Oh,
Hooper
yeah.
did. And
Like
apparently, it was going to be a trilogy. It was going to be like E.T., Poltergeist, and then there was going to be some kind of a third one set in suburbia. Not the Goonies, but it was going to be something else. I don't really know too much about it, but it never really happened.
Well, all I know is that when I was a kid, when I first saw that movie, it scared the hell out of me.
Same.
But
it is terrifying.
Years later, I'm still like unsettled by it years later, and it's and I hold it as one of my favorite horror movies of all time because it actually managed to scare the hell out of me.
Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes horror movies aren't just about blood and guts. It's about how effective it can creep you out. That's why I have more respect for something like, say, something like Carnival of Souls than something like Hostel, because I feel like one is actually trying to be unsettling and unnerving compared to the other, which is just trying to basically put as much gore on the screen as possible.
Oh yeah, for real.
Something similar to that is a series of unfortunate events. One is actually trying. One ultimately really does like go the extra mile to be truly aesthetically amazing and actually nailed like the initial feeling of like the story. While the other, it completes it. It's complete, but it also feels a little
Netflix show versus the Jim Carrey movie.
Great. Yeah, the Netflix show clearly moments where it skipped, like where it like cut corners and whatnot. And while it's not bad for it for the most part, I'm sorry, you just can't beat the movie.
Exactly. Yeah. I definitely can see that. So, Tsuki, what would you have to say is your favorite Steven Spielberg movie / piece of
honestly, just all the animated shows he did in the 90s.
Awesome, like Animaniacs and whatnot. I feel
it showed how you could. They were basically writing for themselves, not kids. And then of course Back to the Future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And really, again, if Jurassic Park revolutionized film, I feel like his animated films kind of revolutionized TV cartoons, at least for a while.
Yeah. And then it got a reboot on freaking Hulu, and it's pretty good so far.
Also, Back to the Future, but hasn't been said.
That was more Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale.
Robert Zemeckis,
he definitely did. He
was uncredited.
So Evie, what would you have to say?
I don't think I watched any.
Oh, really?
If I did, I probably didn't know it was him.
Weird.
Lost Ark, E.T.
Yeah, just pretty much anything Indiana Jones.
I have only ever played Indiana Jones.
Oh, and
nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Indiana Jones. That's another favorite movie that I saw when I was a kid.
Same.
And
surprisingly, I like the Indy trilogy. Yeah,
surprisingly for Raiders, by the way, the final scene where all the Nazis are like opening the
Their faces melt out by the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, that didn't frighten me when I was a kid.
That didn't frighten me either, and I saw it like years later.
Like Jurassic Park never frightened me, but yet so for example, a logo at the end of a TV show could freak you out.
We have to get the elephant out of the room.
Yeah.
The Twilight Zone movie.
Ooh, yeah. Let's.
I don't.
Let's kind of avoid that. Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I know of it.
There is an incident with that movie. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Look it up on your own time because, yeah.
Okay.
So now let's get to the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where we're going to review the Jurassic Park dinosaurs, including. I just realized something. We talked more about the movie than the actual dinosaurs themselves. So now we'll do it here. Sorry about that. When talking about a movie like this, you kind of feel like you have to do it justice. But,
Okay, if we're talking
So
about
the
the
dinosaurs, like Rexy, the Velociraptors, the Dilophosaurus, the Brachiosaurus, all of them unified. Perfect 10 for me. I feel like I kind of have to. But when you are that iconic in pop culture, when you have changed cinema that much, when you still look as amazing as you did 30 years ago, you get a perfect score from me. They're not really characterized, but yet you do feel like they're characters in a way. You do feel for them. You feel like, even though they don't have dialogue, even though they're not really characters, they still feel just as fleshed out as the human beings. And I feel like,
I'll
with
bet.
like Rexy, you feel the power when she's on screen. With the Velociraptors, you actually see them when they set traps, how clever they could be. The part where they're gonna, bust down the door of the control room, and Grant is trying to reach for the gun with Ellie. Sorry, Ellie is trying to reach for the gun with her foot. In that, you feel the suspense. I just feel like these dinosaurs, these CGI and animatronic dinosaurs, have more character development than a lot of movies do. A lot of other movies, do not give as much character development as they do to these dinosaurs. It sounds silly, I know, but they are getting a perfect score from me.
Nice. I am going to be a little less, and I'm going to say a 7 out of 10. They are far from terrible in this movie. And however, I will say this. As great as the animatronics are and as the effects are, and yeah, they really do give a lot of character to them. I don't know. It's just I was never really that into Jurassic Park in the first place, so that's partially why. But I don't know. Nowadays we get more scientifically accurate. We get more facts about dinosaurs in the past. Like, for crying out loud, we get a dinosaur egg that pretty much had a living dinosaur fossilized inside it that had feathers and everything, which pretty much confirms that they were avians to begin with. So yeah, it's those little things that honestly I got ruined for on this movie.
I can understand.
But
For
otherwise,
the time, it was
pretty
scientifically
Yeah.
accurate. Let's put it that way.
yeah, for the time it was scientifically accurate. But even then, though, it's still pretty amazing. They look awesome.
I get it.
And yeah, oh man, I cannot believe that this movie really was the way it was.
Okay, Stryker?
Honestly, I'm mostly just giving a 10 because of Rexy.
Huh.
Because, she's, the best thing about the movie, in my opinion.
I can see that.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, the dinosaur, or all the dinosaurs in the movie, absolutely
Agreed.
a 9 out of 10.
Agreed.
10 out of 10
Exactly.
for Rexy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Same
Tsuki,
boat
what
with
would you have to
Stryker,
say?
mostly just Rexy. Because when you think of the default dinosaur movie, Jurassic Park is always the first one that comes to mind, and it kind of sucks we haven't really had a movie on this grand of a scale that's not related to the franchise,
Okay. And
Yeah.
LuckyEevee?
5 out of 10.
Okay.
Take it you're not too big into dinosaurs?
Not realistic ones. Not realistic ones, anyways.
Okay, that's all right. So, thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, or if you want to share your Chilean sea bass recipe with us, you can email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com, or visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Next time, we're continuing more of Jurassic July when we talk about the 1997 movie, The Lost World Jurassic Park. That'll be a lot of fun. We talk about the only one to star Ian Malcolm as the main protagonist. And we get to see the T-Rex in San Diego. So until then, thank you guys so much for listening. Till next week, take care.
Yep, later.
Yeah.
Adios.
Peace. Adios.